not well since I haven't seen him for a couple of days, is he?
Gambler and animal lover John Aspinall checks up on the progress of his 6-week-old baby elephant.
He's doing brilliantly. He's put on about 4 inches, hasn't he, Darren?
The way Aspinall sees it, there's a war going on out there every day of every year. Aspinall is on the side of the animals.
The enemy's man. The battle is for the earth. There's a great battle going on now between human short-term need, I won't say greed, but short-term needs, fuel or whatever you like to call it, wood, fuel, sweet water, and there's a fight for these. And man is facing the whole of nature, facing down nature. Everybody who thinks about it realizes these species are doomed by us, because our population and our power is explosive. There is a war, and we appear to be winning it by wiping everything else out.
Aspinall stresses the unity of man and beast through a process of bonding. When they bond, the keepers go into the cages of the animals they know well, like tigers. Adrian Harland.
If I was worried about it, I wouldn't do it. It would be silly to be doing it if you were nervous about it. These are my cats. I've known these since they were tiny. There's no need to be nervous about them, no more than going in with your pet dog. They're larger, but you get accustomed to the size as they grow.
They can do rather more damage to you than your pet dog.
Only if they have the intention to do so. I would think if you mistreated your pet dog, he'd probably do you more damage than my tiger would.
Do you think they sense, they would sense, if you were nervous?
Yes, they do. What tends to happen if you are nervous is that they'll test you a little bit and see if your response is right, and then they push it to see how far they can go.
Now, why'd you do that?
Getting playful. She's a bit excited because there's a lot of people here. Just going to grab my leg, and it's not something that I encourage her to do.
Do you talk to them?
All the time, yes, yes. Tigers have a greeting sound, a kind of Pruston it's called, and they whine and moan. The little cub sounds is wow, wow, and they talk all the time, and I talk back to them.
In the same language?
Yeah, and in my language as well. They know certain words. They know their names, and they know the word no. I taught them that as a cub, and that's all we need, really.
In every war, the medics play a crucial role. As dentist Peter Curtis is in town, the tigers have their teeth looked at. Harry, anaesthetised, needs a root filling.
You can see it's full of pus and muck. The ideal solution would have been extraction, although I don't particularly want to extract it. Although it's probably quicker to remove it than to root fill it.
Keeper Adrian Harland hand-reared Harry from a cub.
They were tiny. I think they were 9 or 10 days old when I picked them up. The mother wasn't particularly, she wasn't trying to kill them, but she was very careless, and she'd lost all her previous litters. By the time I got down there, there were 4 in the litter, and she'd squashed one to death already, and I took these 2, this and his brother, away. So I raised a number, and these were probably the most gentle of all of the cats that I've had anything to do with raising. Ever so sweet.
Why is that, do you think?
Different characters. Just different characters, the same as people. Anyone who's got domestic cats will know that they're not alike. One cat's aloof, the other one wants attention all the time. It's just the same with tigers.
Halfway through the operation, Harry opens his eyes and shows signs of waking up. Vet Chris Furley hurriedly boosts the anaesthetic.
Waking up in the chair, do you?
No, we've had that before.
Everyone takes at least a pace back.
I don't know when this one broke. I would have thought this broke around the age of 5, maybe. That's a more recent fracture. The way you can tell is by looking at the size of the pulp cavity. So the upper right broke at a more recently. Once it's exposed, then it dies off. The thing about these animals, they can't speak. So it's very important to ascertain what sort of treatment is best for them. Yeah. You know, the typical story when the vet goes to the GP and the GP says, "Hello, Chris, what's the problem now?" And the vet says to the GP, so that would be too easy, wouldn't it?
Now, everybody calls this one Harry.
Yes.
What's his real name?
Haramy.
What does that mean, do you know?
Yes, it's Urdu for bastard.
The routine for the animals is the same every day. They're inspected by the keepers for any signs of illness or anything unusual.
Come on. Susie, come on.
Then they're moved out and the cages are cleaned.
Come on, Suze.
You can get adequate, pretty good keepers by example, but somebody who can go in with tigers or rhinos or gorillas, adult males and elephants, and treat them the right way, very rare. And they're just born. And we get a number here, but then there's a lot of sifting goes on. We have 50 keepers. And at least half of them are exceptional.
2 canines are broken and one was still alive. A pup was still alive in it.
Keeper Nick Marks also has a tiger with dental trouble, Chota.
Yeah, these animals don't get decay.
He had a fight and needed stitching up, and then we saw his teeth were broken. It's a fairly recent break, and these things tigers don't complain about these things, they just get on with it.
Like most animals, really, isn't it?
Yeah, I think tigers are probably tougher than most.
He hand-raised Chota and kept him and his sister in his home for 3 months. Now, after the operation, he checks up on him. Marks is a senior keeper. He can bond with a number of tigers.
I have about 10 that I can go in with. We're allowed in with 1 tiger per person. That is, there are various levels of people that are allowed in with tigers. At the moment here, really I'm the only one, other than Mr. Aspinall, with two tigers that he knows quite well.
Sometimes the play looks pretty bruising.
Once again, like other great truths, which bonding is one of the great, and modern truths, because there wasn't really much known, the beneficial effects of it were relatively unknown before, stumbled upon by accident.
Don't do that. Ever.
In the early years, Aspinall hand-raised a cub named Tara. He discovered bonding when she herself had cubs.
I approached her, on my knees, making the welcoming noise, but I stopped at the outside entrance, so if she snarled at me, so keep away, my friend, at the moment I got these little cubs, I would have retreated, you see, of course. But she put-a-footed me, that's their welcome. She came right up to me, rubbed her face against mine. I thought, this is wonderful. She thinks I'm no threat to the cubs. In other words, not a fool. And so I waited. Her next thing is she brought the cubs to me one by one, 3 of them, Zemo, Zora, and Zombie. Brought the 3 of them to me to show me. Said, look what I've done. And I patted the cubs, and I picked them up, I kissed them. I thought to myself, this is a miracle. Well, then you think, oh, well, she's exceptional. Then somebody says, oh, well, it may work with her, tigers with her cubs and everything. Wouldn't try that again with another one. Well, of course, my experiences and Nick Marks's experience, who's the greatest tiger keeper in the world who works here, has done for 25 years. I mean, you would say about 9 out of 10 tigresses are like that. And that's the normal behavior of a tiger to a friend. Well, let its friend come in, even when it has cubs, pick them up.
But these are wild animals, and in 1994, Aspinall and his team had every reason to remember it. Balkash is a young, vigorous male. He killed a keeper. Now, in a corner of Howletts, near the enclosure where he died, stands a memorial to Trevor Smith.
It was a Sunday, it's the 13th of November. I heard a shout. As I got to the enclosure, Hazel, who was a girl working with us at the time, came running down the slope saying, "The tigers have got Trevor." As I left my house, I grabbed a spade off the side and just raced into the enclosure. I raced up quite a steep incline onto the top level, and there were the two tigers, Balkash and Zaysan, and Trevor basically in between Balkash's paws. By that time, Trevor wasn't really, alive. The friend, he was different at that time. And
you mean he was a piece of meat?
Yeah. And obviously I had to prevent them from doing that. So having got them off, having actually driven them off him, I couldn't really leave Trevor. So just with my fury, if you like, I managed to get them down there, and then it was just a question of shouting at Balkash and chucking stones at him. I was in the cage, certainly within a minute, and had the tigers off him extremely quickly, and the whole episode probably didn't last much longer than 5 minutes. My guess is Balkash jumped up on Trev. He's a huge tiger, and Trev went down and struggled to get up, and then just instinct took over. Balkash is a tiger, and just instinct took over. He couldn't help himself, and the rest is history.
Canterbury City Council took Aspinall to court to stop the keepers going into the cages.
The court, well, I got into trouble there because then we won the case. I said that in any great campaign, like bonding with dangerous animals, you're going to lose some foot soldiers, and I got awful trouble immediately. The QC opposing, representing the council, leapt to his feet, saying, "Mr. Aspinall described this man as a foot soldier," like it was an insult. Well, I don't see... and it wasn't meant as an insult. I mean, my father was a soldier. I was a foot soldier in the war. I never rose to commission. I never got a commission or anything. I was just part of the, fodder. And I mean, I think, to me, that sort of a person is one of the highest types to be a foot soldier in a great campaign.
Mr. A, I think, calls us all foot soldiers, which I suppose is fair enough. If I ended up a casualty, purely, I mean, it won't happen, but if it did, so what? Whatever I am, I wouldn't be that without Howletts and without whatever has gone into Howletts. And I wouldn't want anything different, basically. Wild animals are my life.
And you'd give that life freely?
Yeah. Obviously, I look after myself. I'm having a hell of a time, and I enjoy living. But if that was the case, if doing what I believed in caused the end of my life, then big deal. We're all, as Mr. A says, we're all foot soldiers. I think that probably includes him.
In court, I was asked, well, I hope this sort of thing will never happen again. I said, that's absurd. I can't possibly say that. It's like saying to your son, you can drive on the roads, there'll never be any more accidents. I mean, it's just ridiculous. When we're keeping 1,500 animals, and many of them so-called dangerous ones, powerful ones like rhino, elephant, tiger, bison, and so on, you're going to get the odd accident, human error and so on, or miscalculation of a character. We take every precaution we can think of, but the bonding goes on.
By any yardstick, Balkash and Nick Marks have a deep and extraordinary understanding of one another. Just as did his former keeper, Trevor Smith.
Balkash and Trevor, they were mates. Trevor went in with him frequently. So it certainly wasn't, waiting to get it. It was nothing like that at all. a misunderstanding or whatever, these, whatever, as happens with friends.
What did you feel for that animal at that moment?
Same as I feel now, love.
Killed your friend?
Just 1 minute. Yeah, he's my friend too. Bowcat is my friend too.
Bonding or no bonding, tigers can be fiercely protective to their cubs, even with those who, like their keepers, they know well. Zaina has given birth, a first-time mother at the age of 14. She's had 4 cubs.
I went up first thing in the morning, fill up a water bowl. She wasn't out. And then I heard a little from inside the shed, and I didn't think that she'd had cubs. I just thought, oh, something wrong with her. And she came, followed me outside, roared up the fence at me, turned around and went back in the shed, and her back end was all covered in blood, so I knew she was in the process of having them. I just disturbed her. She had 4. I looked through the window, because we could hear some calling and whatever, and one of them was dead. And post-mortem showed that it hadn't suckled. The others weren't in brilliant condition. I don't know, an old mother first time, she just didn't seem to be getting it quite right. She was taking meat in there. Normally cats keep the meat away from the cubs. She was taking meat in there and seemed to be putting the meat near the cubs, as if to give them meat to eat, rather than letting them suckle. But some had suckled, that was fairly obvious. But we thought she's not going to manage properly here. So we took 2 away and left her with 1. We wanted to leave her with something to give her a chance to raise them, but I really don't think she'd have raised all 3.
And what about the one that's in there?
One that's in it, it's not doing as well as the 2 that are being hand raised, which usually it would be the other way around. I mean, they should do better with the mother. So she's not getting it quite right still, for some reason. I think it's still hungry.
And there's meat there again. Bone.
Well, she's taking her food in there again.
Worry?
Well, it wouldn't be if she was feeding it properly.
2 of the cubs are being hand-reared by keeper Damien Lenton in his flat at Port Lim.
They'll probably be on milk for 10 weeks or so. We'll start weaning them onto meat from around about 5-6 weeks, little bits of mince and things like that. They'll probably be in his flat. We like to keep them in until they're vaccinated. So they'll probably be in there for 10 or 12 weeks.
It's going to be quite a handful for him.
Yes, there won't be much of his flat left. They are tremendously destructive.
Raising 2 tiger cubs is a demanding task, and they grow quickly. Here they are at 2 weeks.
So how do you manage at night?
Every 3 hours during the day and night.
You're not getting much sleep at all then?
Really, just a quick snooze in between feeds.
And here they are a month later.
The female, it's called Lena, male Tuga, are now 6 weeks old. Apart from being noisy, they're doing very nicely. Male lost all his fur, as you can see. We think it's something missing in the milk substitute we use. The female kept her, she just lost a bit on her head and on her shoulders. They're doing very well.
This is a proper job for an young Englishman here. I mean, it's a challenge. He has to be brave. He has to be intelligent. He has to have a capacity for affection and love. All these things. And they are, you see these tough men, partly built, rugged faces. You suddenly realize, how would the nation ever become such a great? It's because that's the raw material. And among them, 1 in 10 is that extra little gift. And those are the people that we try and eventually get here to help us with the work we have.
Good gal. Yes, good gal. If we'd have lost our court case, I probably would have left. I like working with animals, whatever, but to work around these cats without being able to do this, after having done it for so long, I just wouldn't have wanted to stay.
What do you get out of it?
I don't know, I think it's a very selfish thing. I enjoy it, it gives me a tremendous buzz.
I'll go. You wouldn't want them to be other than tigers. What we do here is to try and keep them even as psyched up as possible and as mentally active as possible. We don't want them just to be lying around all day. We want to give them things to do. There's no stereotyping here because of the work that we put in. Everything is totally up front. And even if they're scheming around behind your back, that's all right. There's no spite to them. There's no malice. I can lose my temper. It wouldn't result in violence, but I can shout at them. And that's okay. And tomorrow it'll be another day. They're like that with each other. So it's perfectly all right for me to be like that, as long as I'm good old Nick most of the time, or I think maybe I'll watch it today, he's got it on him, or whatever. It's just to be one of them. That's all it is. You start behaving like they would behave, or thinking if I do that, then they're going to do something else. So you can guard. The longer you're doing it, the more natural it all becomes. It's not incredibly dangerous. It's just taking situations as they occur, knowing the potential of it all, and if you're in tune enough with your animals, obviously you can guard against things going wrong. Accidents can happen, but you've done all the groundwork. The way I see it, you've got to be a silly sod if you can't outthink a tiger. I've never been married. I do have 2 children. Ben's working on the section now. They were brought up in Cornwall, in fact. No, I've never been married. I'm not very good at relationships. I'd probably be, because A, I'm probably pretty awkward, and B, that this takes an awful lot of, this is my commitment. Other people come second. People come second, probably, and girls don't like that. The more I do it, the stronger I feel for them. And I suppose the harder it becomes to tolerate people.
Aspinall is pessimistic about the chances of winning the war to protect the endangered species he loves.
How can anybody beat mankind when it comes to domination of the planet? Humans who have anything approaching my position are naturally numbered on the sort of fingers of one hand. So what chance have we got? I mean, I've never for a moment thought we would win this battle. We try and go against this tide with reckless courage. We go against the tide, knowing there are no rewards at the end, there are no medals. It can only cost one money and effort and energy. But what else can one do? And anyway, it's decreed that one does that. I'm determined in that sense. I don't have a choice. I can't not do it.
We keep our tigers as naturally as we can. If ever the time comes that we can, perhaps, when the world has obliterated every bit of forest and every tiger that's ever lived, and perhaps we've regrown it, maybe in the future, whatever, then we'd like to think that our tigers are at least capable enough to do what they're meant to do. We don't want them to be other than that, and I know for a fact Trevor wouldn't have wanted them to be otherwise either. He was proud to do his job here. He was proud to go in with the tigers. He loved them very much.
The relationship between man and beast is central to the philosophy of Aspinall's animal parks at Howletts and Port Lympne in Kent.
You enjoying that, Lou?
It's a partnership of equals, according to Aspinall, currently fighting hard against cancer.
I don't have any pets. I've never had a pet. A pet's a very condescending word. You have companions. Or when they're young, you adopt the parental role, of course, surrogate parent, father, in my case a father. Then later on they become friends and companions, just like one's friends in one's life do that.
Neville Buck has known this spotted fishing cat ever since it was born. He calls it Louis. Today, he's cleaning out the stream that runs through Louis's enclosure.
Louis's mum, which we have in the past, has been a very good mother and raised numerous litters. But when Louis was born, everything seemed to be going fine. But at about 3 weeks old, a visitor actually saw Louis's mum take his sibling into the pond and drowned her. And by the time we'd got down there, she'd actually eaten the kitten. It's unfortunate that there was not really any remains left of the youngster, because we couldn't physically find any reason for why she'd done this. We can only put it down to the fact that the kitten was 3 weeks old when it happened, and perhaps some sort of congenital defect had started to show itself, and that's why the mum did what she did. So we were actually left with a little bit of a dilemma as to whether we leave Louis with her or we remove him for hand raising, and that's what we actually did.
So Louis spent his first 5 months in Neville's home with Neville's family.
We spent a lot of time with my children and our 4 domestic cats. So during his stay at our house, he was able to learn cat etiquette from our domestic cats. One of them certainly got on very well with him and would spend a great deal of his time with him. Our older cat we had didn't want anything to do with him at all, but accepted the fact that he was here to stay for a short period. He was very gentle, would actually keep his claws retracted while he was playing, or at least as best as he can, because with a fishing cat they can't totally retract their claws in, which is probably an adaptation for the watery environment that they live in. Never really had any problems with him, any aggression or anything like that. That's me in a lovely condition now. They can be found in sort of southern China, stretching down to the islands of Indonesia, Sumatra. It's a habitat that they're quite well adapted for, with they have partial webbing between their front feet. Any food that they get, they have a habit of taking it down into the water and either playing with it or washing it in the water before they actually eat it. For all they're a small cat, they are quite powerful. There's been numerous reports that wild fishing cats have been known to take young children off into the forest. And there's also been reports a fishing cat had got into an enclosure with a leopard and killed a leopard, which is quite a major feat.
What's the hardest part of this job?
Well, to be honest, I don't feel any of it's hard, because it's something I enjoy, so you just put your whole effort into it, and it's not like a job, it's just a way of life, really.
24 hours a day?
Yeah, I mean, you're on constant call. You're not paid for 24 hours a day, you're paid a standard rate, and anything beyond that rate, well, you do it for love. Ever since I was at school, I started off writing to places like this, and unfortunately the same reply used to come back: a minimum of 5 years experience or university qualifications, and neither of which I had. So after a few years of writing to everywhere I could think of, was about to give up, and then I actually advertised myself in a newspaper, Occasionally Every Birds, and luckily this place replied. It was actually the only place that replied, but as it's the best place in the country, what more could you want anyway? So, I mean, it's obviously much nicer to see them in a natural environment, but sadly the way things are these days, a lot of animals are safer in an environment like this than they are in the wild.
The biggest of the big cats, and perhaps the rarest, are the Barbary lions. With animals so rare, it's too easy for bloodlines to become destroyed by breeding brother with sister, cousin with cousin. So zoos exchange animals. Kabir's keeper is Adrian Harland.
Originally we had a pair, they bred and had their offspring, and then the father died and we were looking for a replacement male. We'd already sent one of our male offspring to Rabat in Morocco, and we agreed with them that they would send us a male back in return when we needed to replace our breeding male. And young Kabir there turned up. Unfortunately, he was rather younger than we'd hoped. I mean, we were hoping for a 4-year-old male, and when he arrived, I think he was about 18 months old. Even after 6 months of quarantine, he was still not fully mature and not big enough to defend himself properly against our females. And they're very aggressive. I don't know if it's a particular trait with this subspecies of lion, but they are very hard girls, which is why we wanted an old lion. We tried to put him with each of the girls in turn, but they fought so badly, and if there was more than one female in with him, he was getting a bit of a bashing. But in the end, he seemed to get on quite nicely with the old girl, so we thought we'd run him with the old girl for the time being. She came into season and they mated, but I think she's too old to breed. Nothing's come of it. In the meantime, we come down here every day, at least once a day, to check on the two younger females to see if any of them is coming into season. And when they do, we shall put them in with the male. They might be more receptive then.
Breeding is a complex business, with the animal's details recorded in a stud book.
You get messages from the stud book keeper, put this animal with this one. That's the best possible mating. It looks very good when a computer churns it out, but in real life, as with people, some just don't get on. And putting some cats with some other cats is just going to end in disaster. Tigers have been known to kill their mates, and I'm sure the lions would have ended up doing the same thing if left together long enough. These could be the rarest mammals that we've got in this country, if indeed they are pure Barbary lions. Over the last year, as we've knocked them out for routine examinations or veterinary work, we've taken samples of blood and hair and sent them away for DNA analysis. If it turns out that these are pure Barbary lions, and it's a strong possibility that they will be hybrid, but if they are pure, these are probably the rarest animals in captivity, because there may be 50 or 60 of them left, and not all of them will be pure. This is the original lion of the Colosseum. When the Romans moved into Egypt and along the Moroccan coastline there, these are the lions that they took from the Atlas Mountains and took to Rome to fight the Christians. Well, to eat the Christians, really. You wouldn't have much of a fight with these. You've seen how big they are and how aggressive. These are the largest of all the lion subspecies. Quite magnificent looking animals. They're very big, strong. They've got that lovely mane that stretches right along the belly. Even on the younger male, Kabira, you can see it's beginning to come along his belly now, and that mane will grow. That'll grow even more.
Everything is done to make them feel at home.
They're on a slope. It's not a mountain, but some people walking up it would think it was. We've got plenty of blackthorn and hawthorn bushes there that we're encouraging to grow up to replace the elder that was here before. It's not acacia, but it's the closest we get to it here in this country. The overriding feeling when dealing with the lions, for me anyway, is one of respect. I've worked with the tigers and leopards, and I've been in with them. I've also been in historically with some of the lions here, and they are much more aggressive, these lions, than any of the other cats I've dealt with. So I have a good respect for them, and that's kept me safe so far. They're individuals too, so I can't say that I have a feeling for all of them. Some I like, some I don't. Some I find quite amusing characters. Some are very endearing, and some are just downright nasty. We have a hand-raised female at the top. I used to go in with her years ago. She was very tricky. She wanted to play all the time, but that usually involved, first of all, it was taking the bins off us and playing with them, but she started to look towards us over the bin, and that was the time that I decided I didn't want to do it anymore. I don't like to go in with everything, and there are a number of these cats I wouldn't want to.
Though there are 2 vets on the Aspinall team, the keepers look after routine health care. This ocelot, Jan, needs her annual vaccinations. Neville Buck will administer it through a blowpipe.
Just as a domestic cat, it's something that we have to carry out on a yearly basis. It's just what your domestic cat, house cat would be getting vaccinated, your enteritis and flus, things like that. It's because it's done by blowpipe. A lot of the time they don't actually associate it as being from you. I mean, a couple of the older cats, they do obviously know, and they see a blowpipe and they'll run a mile. So yeah, we're going to do a male ocelot. Hello, Jan. Good lad.
For the vaccination to be effective, the dart must have penetrated the skin and the injection mechanism has to have worked.
I'll just go and check the syringe because it looks like it's gone off, but he's also caused a bit of a casualty with it. Hey, Ian, he's a good lad. Yeah, it went off fine. It's just he obviously wasn't too keen on the injection going in there, so he's broken our syringe.
For Jan, lunch continues after an interruption.
When the injection's gone in, you can just see where he's turned round and he's grabbed hold of the syringe. It's obviously a bit of an unpleasant experience for him. He's just given it a nip, and because of the pressure behind, the dart's just split in two. The needle did what it was meant to do. It's not actually a barbed needle, so it's not meant to stay in. The idea is it basically goes in there. This plunger slides down from the hole at the side, releases the injection into the animal, and then it drops out.
Sometimes an uninvited guest can sit at John Aspinall's table.
Come on.
At this time of year, the vixen has cubs to feed, and keeper Neville Buck is sympathetic.
Hey, go, girl. Come on.
Many of the keepers have hand-reared young creatures for a variety of reasons. Arthur, the snow leopard, was only 3 days old when Damien Lenton took charge of him.
Why did you have to take him away from his mother?
He was rejected after a few days by mum. It was the first litter that she had. There was him, he had 2 sisters as well, that unfortunately died after 2.5 weeks. But never really had any problems with him.
He's now 15 months old. Close though relationships like this are, right from the early days at Howlett's, they've never been pets in John Aspinall's life.
Minimum domination with animals, wild animals, is one of the central philosophical planks that make this place operate.
Persuasion?
Yes, persuasion and affection. There's lots of ways you can get animals to do things, but just outright domination as per a domestic species or any attempt like that is frowned upon.
I think there's a very strong bond between us. Obviously, raised him from 3 days. I thought I was going to lose him as well as his sisters. It was quite a strong bond there now. To say pet cat would be totally wrong, really. We treat him as his natural mother would have treated him. He's just not scared of people, obviously being hand-reared. Treat him as a pet cat would be a totally wrong thing to say or even attempt to do.
How do you think he looks at you? What do you think he thinks you are?
I don't really know. I suppose in a way it'd be a kind of foster mum.
But, truth to tell, there's a family scandal in Arthur's background.
He was a bit of a mistake, took us a bit by surprise. He was the product of a brother-sister mating. His father was meant to have left. There was something happened with the paperwork. He got delayed in being transported by 4 months or so, and in that time managed to knock up his sister, and along came Arthur. She was on the pill, but we didn't start getting into her early enough. So there we are. It was Arthur and his 2 sisters. A brother-sister mating does carry risks, and the 2 sisters developed congenital epilepsy and died at a very early age. After a couple of weeks, they started having terrible fits. And Arthur came through all right. So it was a nice little result.
Why Arthur?
I think probably because we only gave him half a chance of surviving.
One of the most important births in the animal parks was the arrival of 2 litters of wild hunting dogs. For gambler Aspinall, it was a major victory in his war to protect rare species. Their keeper is Simon Nash.
We've had 7 born here this year. We had 7 born last year.
They're extremely endangered in the wild. They're considered vermin in a lot of countries of Africa and shot on sight. They're the most endangered carnivore on the African continent. And the numbers are down to somewhere in the region of 4,000. So this is obviously very important for a possible reintroduction.
Hand-raising a wild animal is not without its risks.
I was involved in hand-raising Rafi. Yeah. It went very well up until he was about 7, 8 months old, when he just went berserk, basically. He saw red. You never trust a dog like that completely. There were no real signs, there were no outward signs that he was going to go. There was nothing made him jump or anything. He was actually sitting in between my legs at the time when he just turned around and had a go and started ripping lumps out of me.
What's your arms?
My arms, my legs, and going for the soft underbelly, which is a classic killing spot for most dogs.
We suddenly got our African hunting dogs breeding. So we suddenly bred 2 families, two groups of 7, all unrelated with each other. So that gives us a chance to suddenly expand our African hunting dog colony. And so we could supply many, many back to Africa if it works. So I'm going to take the chance and organize 3 or 4 more enclosures right now. The 14 we bred in the last year, unrelated, 7 unrelated to the other 7, a 9.5 sex ratio, that's 9 males and 5 bitches. So that's 5 pairs of unrelated, mother-raised puppies. There's a very good chance they will breed. And we're going to take that chance and build the enclosures and hope they breed. And if they do, we'll be able to really produce a lot of wild dogs. And that is something, I see the opening. Even today, a gambler will see an opening and he plunges in with the odds slightly on his side.
As Aspinall sees so many species under threat, he takes a crumb of comfort from his successful breeding program. This large pack of doles came from an original import from Japan. Keeper Jim Vassey.
There's 12 in this pack. There's mum, dad, 5 pups from last year and 5 pups from this year. So this group's only been together 2 years, so in 2 years we've bred 11 pups.
How do you get involved in all this, Jim?
Well, it all started when I was still at school. Instead of doing a paper round, like most teenagers, I managed to acquire a job at Plymouth Zoo, and at weekends, school holidays, bank holidays, and it just went from there. I mean, I've done other jobs. I did a stint in the Merchant Navy, which is where my father worked at the time, but realised it wasn't for me, and then went back to zoos. I've been here 16 years now, been 24 years in zoos, and enjoy every minute of it. In the wild, they're actually called the whistling dog. Because the trees and the grass is so long and dense, they use this kind of noise as communication.
What's the dominant dog like?
One would assume he's had a lot of contact, possibly in Japan when he was young, so he might well have been ham-raised, but that I'm not sure about. But here, he settled in well. He will take food out of your hand, though you do have to be careful, because if he misses the food and grabs your hand, then you lose a couple of fingers. He's very tolerant of most things. His biggest worry, I think you'll find, is the wolves next door. He does tend to be quite dominant with them. You can always tell because his tail will go straight in the air, and he says, "This is my territory, come over here at your peril," which is fair enough.
Okay.
Lady Sarah Aspinall, like her husband, finds a kinship with the animals, even those as fierce as these wolves.
Hello, my babes. Yes, sweetheart. Hello, darling.
Wolves, like wild dogs, kill as a pack.
I'm allowed in here because I brought him up, but if there was a piece of meat or there's something he wanted and I had in my hand, I have to give it to him. There's no question. He's the dominant one. He was a little tiny bundle of fluff on the kitchen table, and they were so sweet, and they used to come up and down, T and Tahi used to come up and down to London with me in the car, and they always sort of curled up, rather like the tigers. They were wonderful. He was a great friend of mine. I wouldn't be apprehensive of a great friend of mine, human friend of mine, so why should I be apprehensive of a great wolf friend of mine?
Like every relationship, it's based on the ability to communicate.
You see, we put a great emphasis on language, writing, this sort of thing, whereas wild animals have just as sophisticated a communication system, but it's different. It's posture, mien, M-I-E-N, the movements of the eye and all sorts of body language, which they're masters at.
Keeper Nick Marks keeps a watchful eye on Lady Sarah.
Come on then. You're going to come down. You're going to come down. You're going to come down. Come on.
You're asking me what drives us and what drives me and my family and the people that work here. You see, they all have an enormous respect for the animals that they keep. I wouldn't keep a keeper here who believed that there was such a thing as a subhuman primate. They're just other primates.
And that's the way it's always been for John Aspinall.
I think we have to remember that the gorilla was just as dominant in his natural habitat as was early man. And unlike ourselves, he has never gone on a rampage against nature. If you have children, you know, you have dominance over them from being the parent, of course. And then as they get older, you have less dominance. And, you know, you're adults. Now I have a son nearly 40 and a daughter of 40. I mean, of course, I still can influence them a lot from my experience and the fact that I'm the father. It's never forgotten. But nonetheless, you know, you can't control their lives anymore. Same with a tiger cub. It never forgets that you were its original father or friend if you hand raise it, I mean. On the other hand, you can't do anything with it. There's no domination involved in it, in the relationship at all. I really don't believe in domination of other species.